Well, the title of my Pecha Kucha is Your Cocktail a Cosmopolitan Fetish? Surrealism, Anthropology, and the Case of the Aphrodisiac Dinner Jacket. Salvador Dali and his wife Gala first arrived in New York City on November 14, 1934. 2 years later, he designed this jacket, which he wore to parties, submitted to the 1936 Surrealist exhibition in London, and ultimately donated to a Bonwit Teller's department store window display in Manhattan. It was covered in 83 cocktail glasses, each containing creme de menthe and a straw. When exhibited as an installation in London, the jacket was accompanied by a bottle of creme de menthe. The bottle invited viewers to consume the jacket by pouring a drink and sipping from its glasses. When Dali wore the jacket, party guests were invited to sip from his body. Dali used his jacket to mingle at parties. He punned lasciviously in installation instructions on how to wear the jacket without, quote, spilling your fluid, unquote. The jacket enabled Dali to treat the parties to which he wore it as sexual foreplay. The creme de menthe within the glasses would have connoted fertility. Sipping from the straw became a surrealist joke that turned a dainty act into something erotic. Dali showed viewers and partygoers the barbaric underpinnings of their most sophisticated behaviors. Dali's jacket was a fetish, an object more than itself, and used to evoke transformation in its user, often in the context of a ritual. The jacket evoked its own ritual, sipping as an invitation to mixing, mixing as an invocation of desire. Not only the jacket, but the other cocktail accoutrements were also fetishes and totems of this kind. In 1930, Harry Craddock, one of the most famous barmen in the 1920s, wrote this following the recipe for his classic creme de menthe cocktail, The Fallen Angel, quote, "It has never been made quite clear as to whether this is intended to be taken by the angel before or after falling, as an encouragement or as a consolation. Craddock's recipe is one for oblivious promiscuity. His drink acts through the angel, who is relieved of her own volition." The Surrealists were fascinated by the desires expressed through all kinds of consumption and consumer objects. Few domestic devices were safe from their implied discoveries. Here, telephone conversation is unveiled as an erotic instrument. Underwear became a crustaceous exoskeleton, and evening wear barely obscured the animal aims of sophisticated social activity. The Surrealist exhibition of 1936, to which Dali contributed his cosmopolitan totem, the Aphrodisiac Dinner Jacket, incorporated numerous tribal totems alongside cosmopolitan consumer objects. Surrealists in 1936 London observed tribal objects on display in the anthropology exhibits of the British Museum and imported that context to the Surrealist exhibition. Claude Calhoun's photographic submission to the exhibition captures the Aztec relics on display there as though they are in a department store window. Calhoun's own blonde head peeks from behind them, conflating the positions of shopper and ritualist, tribal culture and Western cosmopolite. The most refined bourgeois practices and goods were reconsidered by Surrealists who desired to uncover latent ritual and totemic functions within secular cosmopolitan living rooms. Yes. Aphrodisiac dinner jacket collected here among display shelves, suspended on a hanger amid numerous consumer objects, should not be mistaken for art, like Oppenheim's cup. It is an imaginary anthropological artifact, Dali's rendition of what a modern Western fetish would look like. The jacket represents an anthropologist's theory of urbanity, representing through an anachronistic totem the approach to rituals of community, transcendence, fertility, undertaken in urban modernity. Rather than considering civilization as lacking such forms, the jacket underscores their continued influence in structuring the everyday behaviors of city folk. Much of the installation's charm for viewers must have resided in the translation of primitive totemic forms, like the tribal mask, into the iconography of Western cosmopolitanism. A man's dinner jacket, an icon of sociability, is reconfigured in Dali's installation as a mask, donned to facilitate the social bonding ritual of the fancy dress party. Aphrodisiac dinner jacket references a piece of the primitive past within the cosmopolitan present, challenging opposition between the primitive and cosmopolitanism. Aphrodisiac dinner jacket references a specific ritual context, one to which Dali was exposed in his study of Native American tribal masks. Specifically, Aphrodisiac dinner jacket can be seen as one of a series of cosmopolitan versions of Pacific Northwest ceremonial gift and conquering masks called Swiway and Zanoqua masks. Both the anthropologists Claude Lévi-Strauss and Dali observed that acquisition rituals, specifically figured by Dali as shopping and dating, were ancient catalysts of self-transcendence reformatted for modern life. Swaiwei masks, which are on the slide that's coming up next, were worn at potlatch ceremonies or gifting rituals. Zenokwa masks were worn to invoke wealth acquired through theft, conquering, and discovery. Both masks were eventually translated by Dali, the latter into a dinner jacket conquering totem, and the former into a department store mannequin, which Dali considered the Western cosmopolitan equivalent of an exchange totem. Normally, there would be a picture of the Swaiwei mask and the Zenokwa mask, one of which is light in color and imitates the... Oh no, the masks didn't come up, they're skipped. But the light one in color imitates a full-body mannequin whose jaw was extended by a hot pink knitted ski mask designed by the fashion designer Elska Schiaparelli. And my argument is that Dali's dinner jacket was the complementary cosmopolitan mask that went with the Zenokwa mask. So in conclusion, I think that Dali was showing us his version of cocktail parties as ancient tribal fertility rituals in these images. Thank you.